Hi everyone, welcome back to the Echo Wood. Today we're going to draw this cute little character. I'm using my free brush pack linked in the description, which also includes the Forest Glow color palette we'll be using. Alright, let's jump in. Starting off, we're going to fill the background layer with this teal color. It's the fourth one in the third row. Next, let's go to Actions, and we'll go to Canvas, and we will turn on the drawing guide and then choose Edit Drawing Guide. And let's choose the symmetry option to the right. Our symmetry is not turned on yet, and we're going to switch to Gumdrop and draw a simple oval, and we're going to fill it with this tanned color, and this is going to be our head layer. Size the oval down and position it so it is in the upper section of our artboard. And then turning on the assisted drawing for that layer, we're going to go into our liquify, and I'm just going to adjust the head a little bit so it's not this like perfect oval shape, and so it looks a little bit more human-like. Once that's done, you will create a new layer, choose black, and use Gumdrop to draw on a simple arc shape that's going to be the smile. We're going to create a new layer, and this time switching over to the Echo Wood brush, we're going to draw another oval, and this is going to be the nose. New layer, turn on assisted drawing on that layer, and we're going to use the symmetry, and we're going to draw this kind of half circle shape. And then once that is in position, then you're going to connect the bottom, and the arc on the upper part of the eye should be a larger arc than on the lower portion of the eye. We're going to create a new layer, and we will drag this underneath the eye layer, and we're just going to color that in with white. Then we'll draw this line following the outer edge of the eye, and then we will draw the pupil and fill that in as well. And then you'll do the same for the left eye. On the layer with the whites of the eyes, let's turn on Alpha Lock. And we'll choose this third color, it's kind of a dusty pink. We're just adding another line to create a little bit more detail with the eyes. New layer, and switching back to black, and make sure you're on the Echo Wood brush. We're gonna tackle the eyebrows next. I want it to follow this angle out from the eyes. And I'm just creating these wispy lines. And I'm doing the same for the other side. Let's create a new layer underneath the nose layer. We'll choose the first color in the palette and change our brush to Puff. And we'll draw just a cute oval shape underneath the nose area. So now he has a little rosy nose, and we will switch the brush back to Echo Wood. We'll choose the third color and add just a few soft arc details. I went back in with my eraser tool set to Puff and lowered the opacity and just softened those lines a little bit more. And then back to the nose layer of the black oval, I changed my eraser to Echo Wood and just took out a little bit of the oval part of the nose. Then with the Echo Wood brush, I changed the color to white and just made a little squiggle highlight. Let's create a new layer above the nose layer, and we're going to choose the Puff brush, and we will choose the second color in the color palette. And we're going to draw on these little rosy cheeks. Then I created a new layer, switched to black and back to Echo Wood, and drew on some little freckles. Next, create a new layer above the head layer, choose the tan color, make sure the brush is on Echo Wood, and turn on the drawing assist, and we are going to start the ears. I want it to be out from the top of the eyes, and we're just going to create this arc shape. And then I adjusted the shape further with liquify. Next, I created a new layer, and I clipped it into the head layer, and I chose this pink color and just adding some shadows onto the skin. Let's drag the ears layer under the head layer. And I'm doing the same for the ears, adding a new layer and clipping it in. Next, I'm creating a new layer and clipping it in and lining it with black, and doing the same for the ears. And for the inside of the ears, I'm just making this arc shape with smaller pieces branching off. Next, we're going to create a new layer at the very top above the eyebrows layer and choose this brown color, and we're going to start adding the hair. We're going to start by creating a really loose abstract shape, and then we will go in and add more details later. Next, we'll add little strands of hair coming out. I had an artist coworker that would call things like this jutty outies, and I have to say the name stuck with me. And once you've added a good amount of jutty outies, next you can create a new layer, switch to black, and start lining. And I went into Actions, Preferences, Pressure and Smoothing, and adjusted the stabilization to make it a little bit smoother. Try to follow a natural hair pattern coming out from the center, and definitely take your time with this. It's okay to go slow because it's easy to overdo. Take care with each stroke. It's okay to undo and go back and erase. This was a lot of just trial and error, and at the end I wasn't completely happy with it, but done is better than perfect. Next, create a new layer above the solid hair layer that you're going to clip in, and this is below the black lining layer. Next, I chose an orangey color on the color wheel and changed my brush to Puff. Starting from the center, I just added a few areas for shadows, and then I changed it to a lighter color for highlights, and I do have the opacity reduced quite a bit on this. Switching back to the Echo Wood brush and switching back to black, I lowered the size of my brush and added in fine hairs this time. Next, let's go back to the head layer and create a new layer and clip it in, and we're just going to add a shadow under the hairline. And then I switched to the eraser tool and set it to Puff, lowered the opacity, and just softened the shadow a little bit. And at this point, I turned off the drawing guide and turned off any kind of stabilization preferences that I had. We're going to create a new layer below the head layer and start to draw his little outfit, and we're going to choose this blue color and the brush Gumdrop. And once you've drawn this blob shape, we're going to fill it in and then create a new layer and draw 2 more blob shapes for the arms. Next, create a new layer in between these 2 layers and draw this kind of golden yellow shape. Next, I felt like the arms were a little bit too long, so you're going to select that layer and then grab the selection tool and make sure that it is on distort, and then shorten the arms a little bit. And I also did the same with the yellow outfit and shortened it. Next, create a new layer around the neck area that we are going to clip in, and we're going to change it to black and change the brush to Echo Wood, and we're going to create this sweater pattern. And we'll do a similar pattern with the arms, so it looks like he's wearing a sweater under his little overalls. Next, create a new layer, and we're going to switch to Gumdrop and this tan color, and we're going to draw on hands. Hands are not easy, so do not get discouraged. I kept mine really loose and abstract. Then I created a new layer, clipped it in, and lined it with black using Echo Wood. Let's create a new layer and clip it in, and let's make these shadows on the hands. And then for the yellow overalls layer, let's create a new layer, clip it in, and line it with black. Then let's add little circles for buttons, and we'll draw in these shapes as folds in the fabric. Let's create a new layer, and we are going to draw the feet next. And so with Echo Wood and this tan color, we're going to draw these little arc or sliver shapes, and this is just going to be a little bit of skin showing around the ankle. Then create a new layer, and we're going to draw these oval shoes with this brown color. Then using Liquify and the selection tool, we are going to adjust the shape until it looks something like this, and then you will create a new layer and you will change your color to black and line the shoes. Next, create a new layer above the ankle layer, clip it in, and line the ankles. And then on a new layer clipped into the ankle layer, let's create these shadows. Create a new layer that is clipped into the shoe layer and create these lighter brown highlights. Then clipped into the overalls layer, let's create a new layer and we will do a slightly darker shade to kind of accentuate the area of the folds and color in the buttons. Then creating a new layer at the very bottom, we are going to switch our brush to puff and lower the opacity and create this dark teal shadow. I'm going to start with reducing the opacity down to about 54% on this layer. And then create a new layer underneath it and choose this blue color, and we are going to draw a blanket. Once that is filled, I decided to go back to the shadow layer and blur that with the Gaussian blur. Then back to the blanket layer, create a new layer, do not clip it in this time, and choose this soft blue color, and then with Echo Wood we're going to create the simple line pattern. Then we'll add some simple horizontal squiggles to it as well. Then similar to what we did with the hair, let's create this texture along the top. Next, go to the very top of all your layers and create a new layer, and we're gonna choose this kind of brownish green color, and we're gonna draw with Echo Wood these leaf blobs. And then I changed a few of them to this teal color. Next, create a new layer that is clipped in, and we're going to switch the color to black, and we're going to start lining the leaves and create some veining. Once those details are complete, I am going to add a new layer that is not clipped in and draw thin stems. And then as a final touch, we're going to create a new layer, switch to white, and draw in some little white dots and stars. And then I also decided to add a new layer to the sweater layer, clip it in, and add in some slightly darker blue shadows to the sweater. I hope you all enjoyed this short tutorial today. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. Make sure you stay tuned for my next video, which will be all about perspective drawing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.